Quarterfinals to get the lads' view on those in a moment. But we're going to head back to Croke Park first for Mr. McGeaney against Mr. McEnany. It's Kildare and Monaghan, and your commentator here is Darragh Maloney.
Underway, Monaghan all in blue with the white trim from left to right in the first half. It's dull and overcast, but there's no significant breeze at all to talk about as Tommy Freeman goes for the first score, and they're back in the groove already after, what, 14 seconds of this round 4 qualifier. Kieran Hanratty, late inclusion in the Monaghan team. Hanratty looking for the second point for Monaghan. That's a peach of a score, is it? Yes, it is.
The goal umpire gave no assistance whatsoever. He just kept his own business. 2-0 for Monaghan.
Colin Walsh with the challenge on James Kavanagh. Free man is Brian Flanagan. Alan Smith. 3 Monaghan men around him. Kavanagh's now free. Is this their first point? There's your answer. They open their account in the 12th minute here in Croke Park. James Kavanagh with the score. Kieran Hughes, Freeman there again. Hughes had trouble with the left boot earlier on. He's happier with this. He had the hand up in the air, and the signal comes from the umpire to raise the white flag, and he got it right, nailed it on that particular occasion. Kieran Hughes. 5-2. Padraig O'Neill. Johnny Doyle didn't catch that. McBennett and Moan getting in each other's way. Alan Smith is there. O'Neill screaming for it. They got away with murder there, Monaghan.
Oh, it's a really poor pass from Alan Smith. Certainly came off a Monaghan defender. I think it's the goalkeeper, in fact, is it?
A little too strong for James Kavanagh. Sat up nicely for him. Alan Smith is there. Kavanagh from an almost impossible angle. Has he managed it? Oh, yes, he has. That's a fantastic score from James Kavanagh on his right boot.
Fantastic score.
Owen O'Flaherty. Give and go. Eamon Callaghan on the Monaghan 45-metre line. Eamon Callaghan with the shot. It hangs up there. Is this to bring them level? Oh, yes, it is. 5 points apiece, and the Kildare supporters around Croke Park really finding their voices now. It's been a bit subdued from them. Eamon Callaghan starting to become very prominent, and a big gap opens up right down the spine of the Monaghan team. He's dragged back by Damien Freeman. It's a free in, and it's a yellow card for the Monaghan captain. And there is Johnny Doyle's first point of the afternoon, and Kildare lead for the first time in the game. Alan Smith out in front, loads of movement away, and a big gap opens as the cover is all drawn. Goal chance for O'Flaherty, and he put it over the bar. All right, take your point when you're in that situation, but the goalkeeper was a long way from home, Padraig McBennett. James Kavanagh. Kavanagh gets onto the right boot, steadies down, brilliant point. He thought about having a go with his left, but the tide has very definitely turned in Kildare's favour. Conor McManus, Rory Woods on the 45-metre line. Hughes got his foot through that, and they'll take it.
Well done, Hughes. Hughes ploughed on up and hit a cracker. Give them a little bit more hope.
Johnny Doyle with Kieran Hughes. McElroy has gone in to play in the full forward line. Here's Kavanagh now. Goal chance, and they've got it. Ronan Sweeney, a goal and a point since coming on at half-time.
Oh, great play by Kavanagh. Sees the open man, and you'd have to say it's good night Vienna now for sure.
Now it's Owen O'Flaherty for Kildare. Whoever it is, they'll present a very stern challenge in the All-Ireland quarter-finals. It'll be their 3rd year in a row to feature in the last 8 of the championship. Eamon Callaghan. That's a beautiful point from Callaghan. 8 points the lead.
Well, Callaghan down for 2 points, but I must say his contribution from general play has been excellent.
Daryl Flynn put in a great shift around midfield, but they've dispossessed him. Finlay lets it off. Here's an opportunity for McIlroy. Goal chance. Goligly in there, and it's put into the back of the net by Hugh McIlroy.
He was surely in the small rectangle, no Dara. Just watch this again.
Finlay launches it in. They go in search of a goal. It's brilliantly plucked out from under the crossbar, and the referee calls a halt. It was a great take by Darrell Flynn, right on his goal line. Monaghan's championship over for another year, and the photographers not around Kieran McGeeney. They're around and have swarmed around Seamus McInerney. Is this the end of the road after 6 years in charge? Kieran McGeeney not showing an awful lot of emotion. His team have done what they came here to do, and they have booked their place for the third successive year in the All-Ireland quarter-finals. The full-time score here at Croke Park: Kildare 115, Monaghan 111.
Very disappointed with our last two performances. You know, we're in a real good chance today at half-time again, 1 point down, and would have felt we'd have come out fighting the second half, but basically for that 10-minute period, there was a 10-minute period in the second half, Kildare overrun us and tagged on maybe 5 or 6 points. Maybe we'd go 8 or 9 clear, and the mountain was too big to climb after that.
Monaghan started off fairly sprightly, but we had a bundle of chances, like, you know, to pull away in the first half. You know, but they kept at it, which was a good sign. Like, you know, and eventually got the ball over the bar to win a point ahead, and begin the second half, like, they sort of ramped it up a wee bit. Like, and, you know, it was good to see it.
Kevin, highlights tend to show the scores and good scores, but Kildare, apart from the good scores, they had a shocking number of wides.
They had, and this is a recurring theme with them now throughout the qualifiers. I think one of the qualifiers had 22 wides on the night, 16 this time around. It's enough to kill most teams, but the problem I feel with Kildare is their shooting position and their options are never clever. You know, there's a bit of... Now, he should be getting these. They're not, by nature, accurate forwards. They wouldn't be what I'd call naturally accurate forwards.
Smith and Kavanagh are accurate.
Yeah, but as a whole, they're not.
John Doyle's not bad, like.
Some of the choices they're making, Joe, I think...
I'm not sure I'm with you, Kevin, on that point. I think it might be that the shot selection at times, you know, they can be very ambitious, but...
Well, look at that, Eamon Callan in front of the goal and putting it wide. And the whole thing I want to contrast is what got them back into the game, actually. They started shooting from serious distance. Darrell Flynn, James Kavanagh are going to have a look at it. Eamon Callan again is going to get a massive... But to me, Des, I have to say, there's a touch of the Hail Marys about some of those shots.
No doubt.
You know, I mean, these guys... You just wouldn't be scoring from that distance in a regular season, especially if there's pressure being put on you. That's Bolton's one. That's about the most naturally kicked one of it. And I suppose the point I'm trying to develop is that the good teams are working the ball into a closer zone all the time, where it's easier to get the score.
Is this the hot zone? Because I've been waiting all night to...
Did he come up with that hot zone?
I'm not sure that I did, actually, but OK,
yeah,
I'll claim it.
That's the sort of like a video that they'd watch in a night in at the barracks, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
The hot zone.
The scoring zone. And I think we've a piece of work here done that will show it. It's about 30 metres, that arc, OK? Yeah. Now, the good teams who want to score heavily will get the ball there early, get it in quick, and the players that aren't that skillful cannot miss from these positions.
Well, Tyrone rarely shoot from anywhere else. I mean, Tyrone's scores are relatively mundane. At the end of a game, if you saw the stats for Tyrone scores, they're all in front of the goals.
Handy dinks over the bar, and if you keep shooting from these, like this is a brilliant one. This is McMenamin, right? No, I don't think so. I'll develop the play. OK, ball comes off the Dooher. He takes the hit and dumps it back to Gormley. Or Dooher, in fact, that one is. And he just flicks it over. Yeah. No pressure, no problem.
They rarely score a spectacular score. But then, of course, the whole Tyrone project is about, it's an insurance policy against individuals not playing that well.
This is Kavanagh scoring from just in the area I'm talking about. Now, it's hard, Des. It takes a lot of skill, a lot of good ball retention, a lot of composure to pick out the free man. And it works. And that's why you get the big scores up when you're getting the ball to the right guys.
It also works, Kevin, if you've got a team that's 3 or 4 yards off you. I mean, think of Monaghan, in fairness. I mean, I think Seamus McInerney has done a terrific job in Monaghan. He's a great Gael, and those Monaghan lads are genuinely great, very, very, very good Gaels. Vinnie Corey and all those lads. You know, and for them to come into the game 6 days, I mean, you can imagine what it would be like.
Yeah, they put so
after
much
the shattering defeat they had to Tyrone, to come back to training, boys, on Tuesday night. I mean, it'd be like a funeral. You know, and then they've got to come to Croke Park on Saturday. Where's the joy in it? Where's the spring in their step? Because if truth be told, their lives were built around winning an Ulster title. This was going to be it. And it was such a totally emphatic destruction by Tyrone.
But ultimately they weren't good enough to win an Ulster.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that the normal Monaghan work ethic and the zeal with which they played through the league and in the early stages of the championship was totally absent against Kildare, so that Kildare were able to do as they wished in the second half without any impediment. I mean, rarely was a man even coming in close enough if he dived to block a kick.
Kildare move a lot. They're extremely well conditioned, Joe, and they will make chances. They create an awful lot of chances, and if they hit a purple patch, they will put up a big score very quickly.
Well, let's look at Kildare in the context of the quarter-final draw, which was made this evening, and this is how it ended up. Meath play Kildare, it's Kerry versus Down, Tyrone versus Dublin, and Roscommon versus Cork. So Kildare going in against Meath now.
Well, a couple of interesting things. The first one I would say is, what reaction will Meath have to the controversy surrounding the Leinster final? I mean, that night they went home, I doubt they felt like they won a Leinster. It was a tough one for them, not of their making.
Yeah, but it's behind them now, isn't it? They're mine now next week.
The Louth said it was behind them as well, Des. It wasn't. Yeah. So ultimately we'll have to wait and see.
What Meath should have done was offer them a replay. I have no doubt that Meath would have beaten Louth in a replay. No doubt whatsoever. They would have got the first day out of their system. They would have come out of this as the good guys. They would have felt good about themselves, and they would have been on the crest of a wave. As it is, I just think that there's a fair bit of baggage coming into this game now, and it's not a draw that Meath would have wanted.
Yeah. So it's essentially a momentum team, Kildare, meeting a Meath team whose form was iffy. Like, they had a shocker of a second half in the Leinster final. They collapsed, in fact, and their top players that would have been relying on didn't cut it.
So you fancy Kildare here, do you?
Well, I do, I'd have to say, because we're basing a lot of this on the Dublin match. And the night we actually looked at that, they got 3 goals that night. They're body blows that actually should have been frees in the opposite direction. So they killed the match.
They play at a high tempo, you know, and I mean, the thing about Meath is that they can manufacture goals, and with Kane Ward's frees and all of that, they can certainly get the scores. But Kildare do play at a very high tempo, and mentally I think they're probably in a slightly better situation than Meath are at the moment. I think the funny thing about this Meath team is that Meath teams all through the years had steel. You know, the great team that Giles and Garrity and all were in, then the one before that with Colin O'Rourke. This particular Meath team is just a lot softer than that, you know.
All right then, let's move it on. Kerry Down. Down have always performed well against Kerry in the championship.
Tradition only takes you a certain amount of the way. I mean, I was talking to Colin O'Rourke about this, I mean, about Meath tradition. Meath tradition was great as long as they had Trevor Giles, Graham Garrity, McDermott in previous years, Colin O'Rourke, Bernie Flynn, Brian Stafford, you know. It's just not the same, you know, with Down now, because they don't have Greg Blaney and Ross Carr and James McCartan and all these boys. There's no doubt that
Kerry
are well improved.
Paul Galvin
I appreciate they're vulnerable,
but
not vulnerable enough. Not vulnerable enough, I don't think, for Down to beat them. But it's a great draw for Down. Down have had a great year. It's a great building year for them. James McCartan's learning a lot. The team's improving all the time. Great draw for them.
All right, and if Kerry win, they will play the winners of Kildare or Meath. So that. Yeah,
you'd have to. It's kind of shaping up a little bit towards Kerry already. You'd have to say it is.
Well, let's stick with quarterfinals. The Dubs and Tyrone. Tyrone, for a change, will be hot favourites instead of Dublin.
Well, I mean, I'd say that the Dubs would be gasping a bit at that draw. I mean, I think it's a good draw for the Dubs. I think Pat Gilroy has been very realistic. I was just very disappointed and surprised with what happened in the Wexford game, because I thought they had put those sorts of collapses behind them.
But that was 4 games ago or 5 games ago.
Yeah, you know, I do appreciate that, and there is no doubt that a wee run on the qualifiers, even in a run like theirs against sort of lesser opposition, it's good for you and it's good for confidence. But, you know, Tyrone are different than everybody else. They play a different game than everyone else. I mean, for example, a good snapshot of them came in the second half against Monaghan. First 5 minutes of the second half, first 10 minutes, Monaghan had to score. Tyrone swamped the defence. They knew that. The first 5 Monaghan attacks, Tyrone actually took the ball off them. I mean, I do believe that postman Pat could play corner back for Tyrone and he wouldn't be exposed. And of course, they have found the solution to the age-old problem. How do you defend in numbers and yet attack in numbers? How do you defend in numbers and yet not leave your attack light? And if you mark any particular individual, it doesn't seem to make any difference.
All right. And postman Pat unlikely to start, another perhaps, but Roscommon, have they any chance against Cork?
No.
No.
I think the question you're asking me, the question, have they any chance again? Look,